Today on the Brute and the Fruit, we talk about this life we're living, and whether or not it's all just one giant simulation. Brute and the Fruit. The Brute and the Fruit. The Brute and the Fruit. The Brute and the Fruit.
And the Fruit.
Well, that whole thing was just a perpetrated by the people, the powers that be, and like the fact that it failed so poorly was all on purpose to make anyone who actually would think about like really trying to take over with force be like, oh yeah, there's no way. Like I don't know, part of me just feels like with how poor of a, like, if those people really wanted to take over, how, like, of all the times that you were going to do something like that, why weren't there any weapons? You know, you would think with the way that the media has portrayed that crew, that side of things, you'd at least would have had some people down there with weapons, right?
You think there would have been a gunfire exchange
or something.
Well, I remember when it first happened, hearing it on the news and seeing like the crystal clear images of people in there, like professional photography pictures, and how easy it was for them to get in.
Yeah,
it just seemed like this is fake. This is too easy.
Yeah, because there's some footage of like chaos, right? And then there was also some footage I remember seeing of like people like just like literally walking in as if they were at a museum or something, you know, getting like just kind of like the security letting them pass by and stuff. And so they made it really confusing because you're like, well, wait a second. Like some of the footage that you were seeing where there are people like climbing over everything and like just pouring everywhere like rats. It was like, holy shit, this is insane. Everyone's lost their mind. And then there's other video where people were just like walking in on their own and you're like, well, wait a minute, that doesn't look as like crazy. It's like, so what was really happening? And then like you said, then there was like professional photography being done of like homeboy riding the fucking thing like a horse or whatever, and
the
like,
guy sitting at Pelosi's desk,
and
the guy
like,
at the gavel position.
That looks obviously staged.
Yeah, it was like, so who's taking these fucking pictures?
Right. And then on top of it, there are then, you know, now or retroactively afterwards talking about like throwing the fucking hammer at all those people and like going through and prosecuting them to the fullest extent, yada yada yada. And then also this narrative has come as if they were like, you know, as if it was a real insurrection, as if this was like fucking Afghanistan or some shit.
Oh yeah, and they need to have an investigation, and they need to have like security measures up, and it's just an excuse,
right? Yeah. And so I've thought about that recently, where I'm like, where the more people start to kind of blow it out of the proportion, I'm thinking like, it was a dumb move. Like it wasn't like any move where it's like, hey, good for them, but like, you would think in America it would have been with the way that our world has been here. You would think that crew especially would have at least had somebody there, would have had a fucking rifle or something, you know? So then it's like, so then what were they really trying to do? And maybe it was just a bunch of riled up idiots, like kind of like the dude from Old School. It's like, we're going streaking, and they start streaking, and then no one's streaking with them. But like, or it was just like this kind of idea of like, we'll have everyone riot and storm the Capitol, and then we'll, you know, blow them all, you know, fucking fire hose them all out of there, and then talk about how terrifying and everything it was. And it's just, I don't know. I just feel like a lot of those people in Washington are up to something. I heard that AOC will hang out without a mask on, and then for photos we'll go and put her mask on for the photos. And take it off afterwards.
Yeah, she did that.
There's a video of her doing that.
Nancy Pelosi did it the opposite way. They were all wearing masks, and then they wanted to take a photo, and she's like, "Okay, can we take our masks off?" Yeah, the cameraman, I guess, was a licensed doctor. I don't know, but It's like, yeah, go ahead. You can do that.
Hold
now.
on, but that makes more sense than
That does
not
make
wearing
more
it at
sense.
all and then putting it on for a photo.
It does.
Yeah.
AOC's case is worse.
Yeah, I wouldn't say Pelosi's case
AOC
is
is
bad. That case doesn't sound bad at all in the context of how everything works in this world. So we put a plastic sheet up in front of a cashier, and then they're handling your groceries.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm safe. Like, thanks.
Yeah.
But you're not spitting on each other
but,
like you normally would.
But, it
Yeah,
just...
unfortunately.
That kind of shit is the shit that I wish was a little more, like, universally, like, transparent to everyone. Like, if everyone kind of called... Because I feel like there's so much shit slinging these days, with, like, from every side of the coin. And a part of me just wishes that certain things like that AOC thing would at least get a little more attention and called out as where, okay, some of these fucks are real,
Yeah.
are just really, like, spinning things,
Yeah.
for control.
AOC is just the Nancy Pelosi for young people. Like,
Well, I
she's
mean,
just
you could also
bad.
say like she's just trying to be a role model in the pictures, but she doesn't actually care.
Well, that's
Not
what it is.
necessarily like a control thing, but
True. I meant more like not like a manipulation, like the manipulating of the image of what she's standing for or whatever.
What she stands for is like basically, I mean, what does she actually do?
Well, she's kind of in that extreme left nowadays.
Right, but most of those people just say things. They don't actually do anything.
No,
Right,
she's had opportunities to.
Those people are the ones that are online yelling at everyone to get vaccinated and to keep wearing
Right,
masks.
I'm saying she's like them. She says these things and does nothing.
She's a lot.
Well, no, you're right. Yeah, no, I'm just saying that. And I don't think there's enough call a spade on that.
Yeah, she's had a couple opportunities now to when it comes to actually voting for something that her constituents expected her to go along with, and she didn't. So now she's losing a lot of traction with that sort of far left crowd.
I don't know. I noticed recently that like the new, me and Berger were just talking about it last week that you see all these people who would be like punk rock, and they're all online going, comply, get vaccinated, wear masks, everyone. And it's like, how is that punk rock?
And they're pro vaccine passport,
right?
Yeah.
Which is insane.
But
They're
it's like,
pro totalitarianism,
right?
Yeah.
And it's like that's like the opposite of punk rock. I would expect people who were actually, and I'm not punk rock by any means.
Well, you're saying basically, as in punk rock, being a rebel.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
the whole idea of that punk rock movement from like the 70s and shit was like mostly based on like anarchy and that like
Johnny Rotten.
Yeah,
who
and
became a Trump supporter
and
because that was punk to him.
Young people are no longer rebellious, like this generation at least.
but
No, they're
that's
sleepy.
why it just screams such poser mentality by fellow musicians in the scene around here and stuff, who all tend to like lean into that like punk rock. Like when you talk to them about their favorite bands, they'll be like, "Oh man, the Replacements,
they're super
the
edgy."
Minutemen." And then it's like, but comply. I love Black Flag, but comply. And it's like, fuck off.
Yeah.
And it's like we're now all of a sudden it'd be like people like us, or that's the new punk rock fucking like mentality, like the rebellious kind of like at least asking questions. Like these people don't even ask you fucking questions. They're just like, do it so we can get it. You guys need to do
don't
all
you
this.
want it to all just go back to normal?
And it's like,
don't you just want?
and it's not even to get back to normal in their eyes. It's just like, do it so then this can happen. They won't say normal because they all plan to keep wearing fucking masks
Right.
everywhere.
Right.
Forever.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And it's just like, but then at the same time,
I think they think that if they just follow the rules, it will all be done with eventually. COVID will just be gone. But I don't think that's possible. I mean,
it's the vaccinated people that are spreading the virus everywhere now, because now we know people now that have the vaccine that are getting sick.
it is. Yeah, that happens.
But the whole thing never really made sense anyways. Like at the grocery store in town, it was once you get your vaccine, you don't have to wear a mask anymore. Well, why? Just because you got your vaccine doesn't mean you can't spread the virus. Nobody ever said that it prevents you from spreading the virus. It protects yourself. from the symptoms of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So then it just doesn't, on the surface of it, doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like the CDC, when they said that, a lot of people didn't agree with them. When they said, if you've been vaccinated, you do not have to wear a mask even inside locations. A lot of people were like, really? And I don't know. At some point, you'd hope that you wouldn't have to wear a mask anymore, but it does seem like they said that, but because they're giving in to pressure from people who are like, we want it to go back to normal.
I mean, no, I don't want to say that.
Way to self-censor, pal.
Yeah.
No, I really like had a hard time. I've had a hard time really believing that things would go back, to normal ever.
I
just felt like as soon as because I feel like as soon as certain things in culture are like instituted, like into our infrastructure,
like
not
TSA,
our roads, not our roads, but like
Mm-hmm.
but the infrastructure of like how our society, uses, works within each other, the pathways of how everything, the channels.
When something gets implemented, it doesn't a lot of times go backwards.
Right, it doesn't disappear. And when they introduce phases, that's the thing that stuck with me. I'm like, oh, we're never for the rest of our lives ever gonna live in a world that doesn't have phases.
Well, so if COVID is a thing that's constantly evolving, and it's because it's kind of related to the flu, and the flu is always evolving, so there's a different flu every year, there's a different vaccine every year.
Yes.
If we're gonna have, why would COVID not be the same? Why would we not have COVID every year? And why would we not have a different vaccine? And why then would there not be phases with masks every year? If you're going to have this every year.
That's what they're already doing. Yeah. It's evolving, so you got to get your booster.
What they've done is they've rebranded the flu into the coronavirus, or they at least
people would argue it's slightly different.
It's different. So I guess the best way to say it is if you look at it in the corporate world, it's a merger. So where coronavirus has absorbed the common flu, and they've now rebranded it and repackaged that whole thing. Because now, I mean, what's any different than going when it was just the flu and you had flu season, you had people get shots, you people who didn't get shots, and we didn't wear masks everywhere, and certain people get sick, and it was just a part of like how the cycle of our life went. Mm-hmm. And yes, a lower number of people would die from the flu every year. It was also just a thing that we kind of were dealing with. And
we accept a certain amount of deaths for a certain level of living.
And also at the same time, maybe I'm ahead of my time, I don't know. But whenever I was sick with even a cold or a flu, it's like I'm not going around old people. Or I'll wash my hands more, or I won't go visit my grandparents.
Well, yeah, you weren't even supposed to go to the store.
I would self-quarantine.
Well, yeah,
you weren't supposed to go to the airport.
And nobody had to tell me to do that. It was just something I always did as a normal human.
You would, at least for me, if it was like flu, and I only probably got a flu like maybe like 3 times in my life.
Oh wow!
I mean, you know what I mean? Like I get a cold. Mm-hmm. But like when it comes to like the actual the flu, I swear it's only been like 3, maybe 4 times.
Oh, I probably got it once a year.
It would be like I'd wake up.
Yeah.
Did you get vaccinated?
No. I would just get the flu like once a year, and I would puke and stay home for 3 days. And
I've only got it like a handful of times.
Like the actual flu, or at least what I would think is a flu, because like a cold or like I do have allergies where like I'll get really congested and then get kind of almost like disoriented, and then like have to like just like lay down all day and take a couple like Allegra or whatever, and then I'm fine. And I think a lot has to do with like the temperature change or like pollen in the air or whatever. But like an actual flu, I mean, yeah, I get sick. I would call in work or call into school if it was back then, and I'm not coming in. Mm-hmm. And then you just go and you drink 7-Up and eat crackers.
Yeah,
and
eat
like
Campbell's soup.
Yeah, and you try to fucking sleep it off.
Yeah.
You put on a bunch of layers, you get under a bunch of blankets, You try to sweat the shit out.
Yeah.
Unless you start, if you have a really bad one, you start
overheating. Then you go back and forth.
But
Come to think of it, maybe I didn't have the flu all those times. Maybe a lot of it was just like food poisoning. Because we'd have food that would be on the counter for a long time. And when I was a kid, I'd be like, I'm hungry. Like, there's food on the counter. It's been there for 4 days. It's fine.
what the fuck?
It's winter. Stays.
Well,
But
okay.
but
It
yeah,
hasn't
I
gotten
think
warm
that
enough to
they've
develop
I feel
bacteria.
like what they've done is they've rebranded it, but they've made it into something more like scarier. So then at any moment now, there's a precedent set for the rug to be pulled out. So if all of a sudden after we're done recording this episode, we get a fucking phone alert that says back to phase 1 tomorrow. Like, they can do it because they've done it.
Yep. And people
there's
accept
nothing
it.
we can do about it.
Yeah, and you're seen as a bad person for not complying. With
Right. And then you'll have this is you'll have a big chunk of society or social media or whatever yelling at everyone to just come on, go inside, listen to the facts, the science, listen to it.
Is you going to the movies more important than my grandma's life?
And it's like it's I don't know.
We could also just be seeing it worse than it is. I mean, maybe it is just a passing thing, and even if it stays with us, we won't have this kind of lockdown.
It's like 9/11. Once you allow the government to have this level of power, they're never going to relinquish it. They're never going to say, okay, we've had enough power for 1 year. Let's just give it back to the people now.
It's like
with
a
9/11,
surplus.
TSA was enacted, right? But
And
that
the
was
Patriot Act.
right. That was the main part of it, is that they now have the right to surveil any U.S. citizen without getting a warrant, and in fact can place anyone, regardless of whether they're a U.S. citizen or a citizen of any other
totally
country.
eliminate
They
the
can put
Fourth
them in a
Amendment.
private prison and literally torture them without a judge or jury.
Yeah.
And so
Total
that was
suspension of habeas
and they
corpus.
had
what that allowed them to do was just tap into all our stuff and throw certain people in prison. Now, kind of the direction we're going in, it seems like, is, well, it started with the election of 2016. All these Russian bots, social media is being corrupted. Social media has become a very toxic place full of misinformation, as they're calling it. And
or disinformation.
And now
There's a difference between the two.
now the big talk is about regulating, right, the social media, and really that's the next area that they're going to try to control and basically create a non-free zone.
Well, you're free to talk about certain things like puppies are cute and the government is right and obey and consume.
And
you
wear
said
your
there,
mask.
You're free to talk about certain things, which means it's not really free.
Right. It's
You're
the
allowed.
illusion.
You're allowed to talk about certain things.
Yes.
So pretty soon the regular internet, and they're also going to claim like the internet and sites like 4chan and 8chan, which, they're shitty places full of shitty people, but they're going to claim, well, that's really corrupting
So
people.
Seattle.
See what happened at the White House?
Yeah.
See what's going on?
Yeah,
we have to
and that's-
shut these places down.
Right.
And it's pretty soon the regular internet, the one that most people have access to, is going to be so regulated that it's not going to be free anymore.
Yeah. But that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to correlate the quote unquote insurrection by the American Taliban.
Right.
They're trying to
First it was
to
Russian
conflate-
bots.
Yeah.
Then it was disinformation.
Right, it's insidious.
Now it's the insurrection. There's going to be a few more events that is going to give them the power and the support of the people to shut down and create new laws, just like the Patriot Act.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a result of this terrorist attack that was on par with 9/11.
And here's the thing.
Right? There will be something
The
that happens.
Patriot Act.
Whether it's real or it's staged or it's a combination, there's gonna be more events that just give them the excuse.
They're called false flags.
The Patriot Act was obviously some dossier that was around Washington for a while before they enacted it.
Right, they had
They
it ready
had
to go.
it in its pocket. They had it in their pocket. And they had it ready to go. But like
They needed support.
they needed something to pull it. You couldn't.
But that's kind of in a way, to me, kind of reassuring that they needed public support and that they still put a lot of money into elections. There's still it's not like they're completely in control.
It's called the Hegelian dialectic. They want to enact a certain thing, or they want to go to war with the country or do something that the public is not in support of. So then they have to have an event happen that will turn public support in their favor.
Right.
So we already wanted to go to. We've been
so for
in these
example,
skirmishes in the Middle
like
East for 30
World
years.
War II had been like when everyone thinks, I think, well, not, I can't say everyone because I can't speak for you guys, but I feel like the common like narrative was that World War II was this big long slog of a war that like the U.S. battled hard in, and I'm by no means discounting anything that happened from the United States side of that war, but we did get into that war fairly late compared to every other country that was in it. So there was a period where we were like telling everyone else, go fuck yourself. Like we're not coming over, because that was the entire stance of the whole country. The whole country was, we don't want to go over there.
Mm-hmm.
We have more things to worry about here, like the depression and all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
FDR knew that going into war would create jobs, and it would actually ultimately benefit the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So you just had to have a reason to get over there. I'm not saying, but I mean, you know,
it was real
handy. Coincidentally, we get attacked at Pearl Harbor, and the country changed its mind.
Yeah, once we were attacked on our own soil, it was very serendipitous for the powers that be.
So I was just looking that up,
and hold on, there's a lot of evidence to support that. Was FDR still president when we got into World War II, or was Truman?
No, FDR was president throughout the entirety of World War II.
Oh, no, because Truman was the one that dropped the bomb,
right? But that was yeah. FDR.
But anyways, there was a lot of evidence to support that there was foreknowledge to the Japanese planning an attack on Pearl Harbor, and then we allowed it to happen because it would allow us to get into war.
Legend has it there's a place out west where you can order a cheeseburger and chicken fried steak at 3 in the morning. A place where the bartenders are old school and they unapologetically free pour cocktails in a bar where it's always happy hour. Well, folks, it turns out the legend is real. Don's Restaurant and Lounge has been a staple of Marysville, Washington since 1972, and the vintage decor reflects our dedication to maintaining that feeling of living in a simpler time. The dated dim light fixtures and the imperfect upholstery transport you back to a time where women were women and men were men, and anyone in between was committed. Our no-nonsense bartenders are sure to slay you with their small-town charm and beautifully imbalanced cocktails, and with Don's no-cutoffs policy, you can drink to your little heart's desire. No one's going to tell you that you've had too much. So come on down to Don's Restaurant, located off I-5 exit 199 in Marysville. We have ample parking, great food, better drinks, and we're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
So it's funny. World War II officially lasted from 39 to 45.
Yeah.
That's 6 years.
Yeah.
The Vietnam War officially lasted 10 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
I see where you're going with this.
Our stay in Afghanistan was 20.
Yeah.
It seems like the dumber the enemy gets, the longer it takes us to defeat them. It's like the War of Earth only was a skirmish in comparison to our war in the Middle East. That's been going on for 20 years.
Well, don't you think that the world is setting itself up? There's a lot of like stratego shit going on right now where it's like it's kind of setting itself up to where at any moment you think
This could explode into a world war.
Yeah. Like think about like, because we're not even talking about, was it Syria and Libya or Israel and Palestine bombing all that shit. The fucking us dropping shit in Syria, fucking I sent you guys that copy. I didn't read the whole thing, but some guy on NBC is talking about China possibly teaming up with Taliban for like minerals and shit that are over in Afghanistan.
Yeah, I have that article.
So imagine if that happens. What kind of conundrum is that? If you have China, because China and the United States have obviously they have working relations with each other, but then like we don't have working relations with the Taliban.
No,
or do we?
Like, well, on the front of things,
on
we
the
don't
surface.
have on the surface. We don't have anything going on with the Taliban.
Yeah.
If China starts working hand in hand with the Taliban, that's like let's talk bit like.
I thought it was amazing. So, would it take 10 days?
Yeah, something like that.
What?
10 days for the Afghanistan government to be overthrown by the Taliban, and we just sent a few $1 billion worth of military equipment there,
and then we
they
just
now
left
have.
it.
They have attack helicopters. They have Humvees.
Drones.
They have a lot of
because it's funny.
weapons.
We've been over there for 20 years trying to fix the situation, but then it's like, okay, we're pulling out. It's like, oh, the Taliban just took over. When?
It's
5 minutes ago.
It's like we're.
It's so insane.
It's like we're.
It's how incompetent can you
Montoya and they're the fucking Wesley / the Dread Pirate Roberts and Princess Bride, and his job is to kill Wesley, and yet he's hanging on the side of the cliff, and he like helps him up because he wants to beat him like a man or with honor in a duel. And so then he goes on and he duels with him with his left hand, and it's too much of a match for him. So then he realizes, oh, I've tricked him though, because I mean we're even. So I flip over to my right hand now. Oh, he's definitely done. And then all of a sudden, oh wait, he was teasing me because now he's right-handed, and then I end up losing. And I just feel like that's just kind of how some of this felt, where it was just like they threw Wesley he throws Wesley some rope to climb up the side of the cliff. We just sent $1 billion worth of fucking equipment over there, drones and helicopters and shit. Now we're pulling everyone out. And it's just kind of like this like doggy bag of goods, and just like, all right, we're out of here.
Yeah.
See you later. Good luck. And now they're gonna have control of that shit. And the thing is like they were fighting us in the beginning 20 years ago with weapons that they got in the 80s that we gave them when they were fighting Russia.
Yeah, they were the freedom fighters.
And now all of a sudden I'm just saying, when we go back there, they're going to have,
quite the arsenal.
Especially
if they team up with China.
Especially if they team up with China, because now
it's so incredibly stupid.
Yeah.
But
it's either we're so incompetent and stupid, or this is not what they say is happening.
Well, that's the argument with 9/11. Either A, the government was in on it, or B, every single system and security we had in place failed on an epic scale. So is it that everybody is totally incompetent and incapable of preventing these guys from stealing airplanes and crashing them, driving them through U.S. airspace and crashing them into buildings, went everywhere they wanted to go except George Bush's house? Or they were in on it the whole time?
Yeah, I don't even know. It'd be nice to think we're just that dumb, because I mean a lot of us are.
Right? No, you're right. But then you also think about how at least there's an illusion of them being so prolific at what they do all the time. Then you have a day like 9/11 where literally everything, it's like the jackpot. I mean, that's how someone would explain it. I feel like instead of wanting to accept that maybe something more shady's going on, that they would go, oh, it's like hitting the fucking Powerball, man. Like it's one in 4 or 5 million. Yeah, sure. Just one day, I'll fucking, the dominoes all lined up, man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but if you think about how incompetent the government is with the majority of other things they're responsible for, it would make sense that travels over to national defense.
But I mean, think of it. There's tiers. There's like local government that fails on everything they do. But then if you think about as the more clandestine stuff, we know about Operation Northwoods, right? They wanted to have an attack on what was it? Did they want to bomb Atlanta or something and blame it on Cuba and do all these, have crisis actors and everything? There's declassified or MK Ultra. We know they've done this type of stuff, so we know they're capable of doing evil, deadly things for whatever ends. Right. I don't know, but
I think as time has gone on with stuff in like that book, God, what's his? I forgot.
So is that really declassified?
Yeah.
Can I say one more thing? Because I had this conversation, because I have a 911 was an inside job bumper sticker on my car, and there was a customer that was asking me about it. And so then I kind of told,
I remember,
the government...
But sooner after... Okay.
Hold on, because it was funny, because he was like, I just don't think they're clever enough to pull something like that off. It's like, oh, but Osama bin Laden is?
Right.
Well, they also made it seem like that was a ragtag team, right? That did it.
Yeah.
They had box cutters.
It was like the Afghan A-team.
Yeah.
They just kind of ran in and...
They ransacked. That was what it was, is they came in.
And then our scrambled fighters couldn't find them.
Because coincidentally they were having some sort of drill day where a bunch of shit was pulled out of the air. So it's just so confusing. Yeah. They couldn't figure out... And we couldn't send up more planes. Well, we only have 6 planes. Or whatever. Well, that was the thing. It took them a few minutes to notice that it wasn't even part of some drill they were running, like for their anti-aircraft. There's some story about how on 9/11 there was a whole drill that was going on. So then when the actual shit was going down, a lot of people were like, "Wait a second, is this a fault? Like, is false alarm or what?" And like since there had been drills going on, people were just ignoring a lot of them because they're like, oh, well, it's just part of the drill anyways.
Right. It was
like any kind of alarm that was going off. I don't know. Like, I know that's part of it.
I know that is part of it.
It's like the Boston bombing. Because there was a big thing where people were talking about, there was like a bunch of security and there was dogs everywhere. It's like, yeah, we had bomb sniffing dogs and all this type of heightened security, but a lot of it was this drill. We were trying to work this stuff. It's like, well, why didn't your bomb sniffing dogs sniff out the bomb?
So like during your drill? Didn't it turn out that they knew those guys, the CIA knew those people that took part of it, and then one of them was killed during interrogations?
Yeah, and the other one got arrested and hasn't been able to get a lawyer or have be represented or have any sort of public response to the attack. Tyranov, whatever. Yeah, one of them got killed on a boat somewhere. It was very weird. The whole story is
Imagine if they let any of those people be in front of a microphone like Lee Harvey Oswald.
Mm-hmm.
And then he literally goes, "I'm just a patsy." So then they kill him off really quickly.
You weren't supposed to say that.
I remember. I want to say it was Rolling Stone magazine I was reading at the time, and this is not long after the Boston bombing, and they had the dude on the cover, the survivor. They had him on the cover and they were talking about him in the story, and it was like, leading up to this attack, he was expressing a lot of interest in libertarian ideals. It's like, what? That doesn't make any sense.
Do whatever you want.
This was during Ron Paul's election. They were trying to discredit all the libertarians as lunatics.
Well, they've kind of done a good job of doing that
by linking the Koch brothers to them.
Or just any kind of like anything that can be looked upon as like a simple like, oh yeah.
Well, it's not hard to link libertarians to a bad view because a lot of the really wealthy people that would prefer to be able to do whatever they want with their businesses like the idea because they could do whatever they want.
No, not really. They don't
pour gasoline in a fucking river.
No, they like to get politicians
that's the idea.
But I will create regulations.
I think that a lot of the backlash against libertarians though are like people. I think people lump them in just straight up with Republicans in the first place, as if they're the same, just because they be not ignoring the fact that in the Venn diagram of politics, like libertarians kind of land in the middle between Democrats and Republicans in a sense. There's some part of the circle they share with both, you know. So like the liberals will hate on libertarians and shit on them
because they're capitalistic,
because they don't want to wear masks, or the anti-vaxxers or whatever, and just for the fact that they're associated with the Republicans, they act as if it's all one side, as if it's impossible for a libertarian to be on there, like a left-leaning libertarian.
Yeah, and Republicans don't really like libertarians because they're too left, they're too liberal,
they're pro-choice.
They're
every way.
Pretty much, for the most part. The abortion thing is really a really gray area amongst all, because it clashes with the philosophy of libertarianism, which kind of starts with
how does that work?
Well, a libertarian kind of starts off with this whole idea that no two people can exist in the same place at the same time. So then you establish, this is your space, this is my space, and then it kind of all builds up from there. But then it's like, no, you do have two people in the same place at the same time.
That
I've never heard that actually.
There's one, and then there's the idea, because a lot of libertarians are Christian, which kind of bothers me. I'm libertarian, but then to me it's like all this shit makes sense, and then they're like, yeah, and by the grace of God, and I'm like, what?
Yeah, that shouldn't be related.
I know, you're being so logical, and then you started
talking
about
the guy. But by being libertarian, they should be open to any religion, right? And you should be open to drug use.
Yeah.
And any sexual orientation.
Yep.
And if you're saying, that, then you could probably say, like, there can be as many genders as you want, and you can call yourself whatever you want and use whatever bathroom you want.
Yeah, because it's like... Yeah. It's like, okay, there's an episode of It's Always Sunny where Charlie's looking for a new roommate. Uh-huh. Or maybe it's Frank's looking for a new roommate. Someone's looking for a new roommate. And they're interviewing people, and there's this really crazy guy, and he just goes, "You don't touch my shit. I don't touch your shit." And that was all he says about like answering the question. Uh-huh. And it was just really intense. And it's like, that's kind of like libertarians right there.
Yeah.
Don't touch my shit. I'm not going to touch your shit.
Yeah.
Like, so like when it comes to, for me, I've taken the fucking like political alignment tests a bunch of different times, whether it was in college or now, and I've always been a left libertarian, sometimes further left than like to the center, and sometimes kind of just left of center, but that's just how I've been, and it's like it makes sense because of what I believe in. But like to me, it all just makes sense. It's kind of just like, well, yeah, why wouldn't you? Mm-hmm. Like, why wouldn't this, But a point I wanted to there's 2 points I wanted to get to about this, then we can get over this, because who knows if we'll even use all of it.
Yeah.
But
then I can piss too.
I love pissing.
Two things. When we're talking about like people being dumb enough to pull shit off, like I think a good thing to note is that I feel like and I think you kind of touched on it, there's only a certain layer of people that would have known in order to get it pulled off. So what I'm saying is that, like, think of the movie The Departed, and Matt Damon sets it up to where basically the cops and the fucking gang have a shootout, and he kills his fucking the captain. Martin Sheen gets thrown off the top. Spoiler alert: gets thrown off the top of the fucking. If you haven't seen the Best Picture award winner from 2006, I'm sorry.
It's 15 years old now.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it?
No.
Oh shit! It's great.
It's fine though.
Oh man. Well, anyways,
I didn't love it.
It's fantastic. You'd love it. It's
The
Scorsese.
Departed?
Yeah, it's Scorsese.
Oh yeah, Scorsese, good.
Yeah. Anyways, I feel bad spoiling it for you now, but I assumed you would have seen it because of Scorsese. Matt Damon is sitting in the room at the police station, listening to it all happen, and like a total weasel, and just lets it happen and turns his fucking thing off. His hands are completely clean from both sides. Mm-hmm. And because he is trying to, oh man, fuck it. It's 15 years old. I'm sorry. He's trying to find he's trying to find the rat on the inside of the mob.
I'm just thinking of the Bourne movies right now.
And Leonardo DiCaprio
he's in it too.
Leonardo DiCaprio is the rat that's inside the mob that's communicating with the police department. Like, he was put there by the police. He's deep undercover.
Is this a movie where someone opens like a closet door and there's someone in and they just blow his brains out?
Elevator. Yeah.
It was a front door.
It was the elevator.
No. Oh, yeah. Well, there's multiple.
Oh, okay.
Because he's got DiCaprio ends up capturing Damon, putting him under arrest. But everyone there's only 2 people that knew that Leonardo DiCaprio was even on the police force, and one of them has been put on administrative leave, and another one is dead now, and so no one knows. So then he fucking has him, and then there's just the fucking, it just shows him, and then you hear the ding of the elevator door, and just BAM! Bullet goes right through DiCaprio.
Yeah, shocking.
Great. Like, this movie it's fantastic. But so DiCaprio was in the police force, got thrown deep undercover. Matt Damon was brought up by the mob, Jack Nicholson, to then go into the police force.
Nicholson's in it too?
Yeah.
All-star
I'm surprised
cast.
I haven't seen this.
Yeah. And so is Mark Wahlberg, Alec Baldwin, Martin Sheen, and then a bunch
Lots
of
dudes.
Yeah. And then Vera Farmiga is like the only woman in it.
Huh.
She plays like the psychiatrist. But yeah, so DiCaprio gets brought into Jack Nicholson's gang and is then, the informant to the police. But Matt Damon is there, and he's tipping off Jack Nicholson, who's like his surrogate dad. And then, just a bunch of shit ends up happening to where Martin Sheen and Mark Wahlberg are the special unit undercover. DiCaprio's working for them, and so there's all this beef between all of them.
Okay.
So it's still, honestly, even though I kind of told you what happened, it's still worth watching, because it's really fantastic, and it's really like intense. Like, there's a lot of like crazy. But my point is that that's kind of like, if you think about with 9/11, it's like the ones who knew, they're doing, because like there's that scene where he's like, I got him. Should we go? And like, Matt Damon's like, stand down. He's telling them to stand down. Like, think about like the fucking scrambled anti-aircraft that was doing a drill, and it's like, wait, is this real? What's going on? Like, what's going on? Why doesn't anyone tell us what's happening?
Stand down.
And then
you're fine.
Because they believe that the United 93 was shot out of the air. Like, they believe that was blown up.
That was the one that was going to George Bush's house.
The one that went down.
That wasn't going to his house. It was going to Fort David, or where
I thought there was one going to the
one
White
that went
House.
down in the field.
Yeah,
where they barely find anything.
Right.
In Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
I thought it was going. No,
it
the
was.
White House.
It was on its way to Fort David. I thought.
What kind of terrorist doesn't want to get the White House when they're getting all these other landmarks? See, these guys are retarded.
I thought it was Camp David. I could be wrong, but yeah, they blew that one out sky, and they made the story up of the people on the plane taking it back.
Do you think Bush knew about it, or do you think he was aloof to the whole thing and Cheney was the one that had it all figured out?
Well, Cheney and Rumsfeld obviously were like the two masterminds.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know anything about this.
Yeah, Rumsfeld was the one that did the whole thing. Like, yeah, we can't account for $3 trillion.
Powell?
Probably Rice, maybe Condoleezza Rice.
I mean, I feel like that whole gang, the whole gang was probably.
Yeah.
I mean,
George Bush was surrounded by people who didn't do coke.
How many trillion did they say they were in the whole
2.3 trillion?
Didn't George Bush? Cork was telling me today, actually. He was like, George Bush was being asked about, this is Junior, if he did coke and weed in college or something, and he just randomly admitted, "Yeah, I did acid one summer or something."
Yeah, sounds like
Yeah, he did coke, I think. Yeah. His dad was the one that would jerked off on the glass coffin and robbed Geronimo's skull.
He did the real shit.
Yeah.
You know, what's
He was
really
the real badass.
what's really
he was the real
insane,
Illuminati badass.
Yeah.
What's really insane is that I
There's
feel
so
like
much just
I feel like I
indoctrinated.
have seen this already, where people are waxing nostalgic for like Bush.
Well,
Right.
they're at least indifferent to Bush.
Well,
which
when
is
Alan
equally as
did
terrifying.
did the show with him, and he was just talking about his painting, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's actually a pretty cool
Like, yeah,
guy."
he's hanging out with Ellen DeGeneres. They're having a good time. It's like, this is one of the
And
most
you have
evil
like
people on
then
earth.
the next day he's just like, if you guys could call in 828-515 suck my dick. You have which president would you like to have a beer with? I got George W. on Ellen yesterday. He looked like a cool guy. Look like a real cool guy. I'd like to have a beer with him. Well, turn to the callers. Who'd you rather have a beer with? W. Obama, Donald, or Bill? Who? Let us know. Call in. Like. That was the next day, the whole next day after he was, he was on Jimmy Kimmel too, wasn't he? Like, he did that whole painting thing where it was like, let's make him look like a cute little old man, and then everyone will forget that he's actually a war criminal.
Yeah, one of the most evil men to ever walk the face of the earth. No, it's okay though, because Trump is so bad that we like him now.
Yeah, it was weird.
So then my last,
Well, yeah, a lot of people were like, traditional conservatives wouldn't be like these Trumpers. They were actually great people. I mean, we hated them like 10 years ago, but they were great. They're great people. They're gone now.
that's the evolution of human nature,
Right.
Like if you listen to the
Everybody I know that was a Trump fanatic was a Democrat.
Huh?
yeah,
Yeah.
like a lot of people that I knew that became
They're
real
90s
big
Democrats.
Trumpers, they were like 90s, early 2000s
There's
Democrats.
also
And
plenty of
Trump's
people,
policies weren't
plenty
much
of
different
Obama voters who became Trump voters.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was a lot of them.
There's a lot of people that are just sensationalists, and they just like.
But
fall
I think
for
a lot of
whatever.
the Obama voters were still people who were voting for Democrats beforehand too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, of course. Of course.
But my last point I was going to say about all of this, to get on a little more lighthearted side of this shit, or maybe more intense, depending on how you take it, is
We give
how
you the
much
entire
no
spectrum
how much
here
it
on the
just
Forbidden
how much
Fruit.
it just really honestly day to day starts feeling like you could be living in a simulation.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I don't feel.
Oh,
that.
you don't feel that? Oh shit, dude. There's
You know
stuff.
what? I think there's a difference though between us and Tim.
Yeah.
I think there's that 5-year difference in age,
Okay.
because it's like you look back and you see like the 90s stuff and it's like everything was I mean, obviously not everything. You look through rose-colored lenses, but
Right.
things were fun and not
But
everybody
that's
was at
what,
each
but that's
other's
what I was
throats.
just saying a few seconds ago. Is if you listen to "Everybody's Free to Wear Sunscreen," listen to that song. It's a speech that this guy gives to a class of like 90. Or whatever. It was like a graduation speech that some guy gave to college or whatever.
Yeah, you played me that.
Yeah,
That was
and
lovely.
it's beautiful, and he does has a bunch of like these kind of life advice or how life goes, and he talks about how every generation is going to look back at their generation with essentially rose-colored glasses, like Berger said. Like, things are inevitable to change. Prices rise, politicians philander, and you'll get old.
Economics change, the jobs that make money, the industries, the countries that are doing
And
well.
it's like I'll play
regions.
you the song afterwards. It's actually pretty good. You should hear it.
It is really
But he makes some really good points. But that's the point in that song, is that like we're doing that ourselves right now when we talk about, if you're talking about the 90s. To me, what's crazy is just like the certain things where coincidences start happening or things start looking very similar,
Historical-
or you're
historical
having
parallels.
or you're having thought that isn't this, that is way off, like is where it was like that's not. For example, some folks moved into a house down the road from my parents' house, and they have like a big barn, and they do events there, like weddings at their house. My mom always references this guy to me as the guy. Oh yeah, he it's a guy you used to play baseball with back in the day. It's his parents. And so one day, this has been a thing that's come up a few times, and I talked to her one day about it, and it got into this really blown up, heated like discussion / argument, I guess, where we were trying to figure out who this person was, and so she sent me like a screenshot of the guy's Facebook page of the older guy. I'm like, that guy doesn't look familiar to me, and like not that I would necessarily remember every parent of the guys that I played baseball with from all the years I played baseball, but like you kind of faces, seem to if they're familiar. So I was like, man, not familiar at all, because she's talking about him as if like he'd been around for years, like him and his son, like, oh yeah, and he was one of the guys that always talked to the coaches and like, suck up to the coaches so this kid get time to play, and you didn't like it, and blah blah blah, and all this stuff. Yeah, they were the parents. They were there when I saw them. When I ran into them or saw them, they asked about you. How else would they know to ask about you if for whatever? Like, they knew about you, they knew about your dad, all this shit. So my mom sends me a picture of the guy who's supposedly the son that I played with. Never fucking seen the guy a day in my life. His name, not familiar at all. Like, his last name I think was like Patrick. And so like a lot of times in sports, people by their last names. So you're like, Patrick, that doesn't sound familiar at all. Like, never met. So I'm literally telling my mom, literally never met. Well, you have, you just forgot. And it's like, no, I didn't. I know I didn't forget. Well, yeah, you did. You obviously forgot, because I know. And it's like, well, how do you, so then turn into this whole argument about how I'm basically telling her that she doesn't, I'm telling her that she's doesn't remember or whatever, and turns it all into this bullshit about her. But in reality, I'm like, I don't know that guy. I've never played with that guy. If I was on a team with this guy, I was like, maybe I played against him. He was on a different team some year, and you noticed his parents or something.
You just don't remember.
And it's like, no, it's not. No, I've never met that guy. I've never seen him. Yeah. I was like, I have zero mutual friends with that guy on Facebook. Of all the people I played ball with, I'm friends with a lot of them on Facebook still. Like, how am I not have one person who knows him?
A coincidence.
I talked to my dad. I know, but at that point, she's just telling me, right. Yelling at me, hanging up that why am I arguing with her and all this stuff because I don't remember. And it's like, no, I'm actually trying to figure it out. And anyways, I talked to my dad. I talked to Nick Michelle. I was like, you remember this guy? And it's like, my dad was like, I'd never heard that name ever. And I'm like, well, apparently the parents remember you. Mm-hmm. And then same with Nick Michelle. Nick goes, there might have been a guy named that was my brother's age. And that was about as far as it went.
Yeah, confirmation bias.
If he was Nick's brother's age,
what is the conclusion here? I'm starting to get...
My point is that if this world is a simulation, it's easy to think that there's certain RAM or memories or something that would be running out or whatever if it's overloading or whatnot, like how any simulation would. Wait,
that's your proof of simulation?
No, it's not a proof of anything. I was just using it as this example of something that is this disconnected. Like my mom is adamant that this person not only talked about me, knew about me, all this shit, asked how I was doing, all this stuff. Like, she's adamant that happened, but I'm 100% adamant that I don't even know who those people are. So there's either some crazy disconnect there, even though because that's why I asked her, I was like, are you sure you're not remembering something else? Quit squirming. It's distracting.
Sorry.
Are you sure it's not something else? And she's like, no, I know it's baseball, blah, 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 blah. So my point is that there's a lot of instances like that are also happening. Yeah. You go and you watch an MMA show, and then all of a sudden there's someone named Usman Nurmagomedov or whatever, and it's like you're taking two UFC names and you're just generating into one.
The random name generator is running out.
Yeah, it's like running out of RAM. It's like Nick Michelle made that point. He was like, what the hell? He's like, it's like the random name generator on a video game is running out of space. And
it's like with the Trump speech that led to the insurrection. Supposedly, you listen to one. It says, he says protest peacefully, march peacefully, stand out, whatever, and then the other side hears kill everyone. It's like there's a disconnect.
I'm just so confused right now. I'm not following the simulation thing, but
Well, if you have to imagine if it was a simulation to be running on like a computer, for example, right? And
why would it be running out of RAM?
Just you never
There's
know.
8 billion people in the world.
Yeah, it's like an overload.
Well, what if it's capable of 80 billion? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying that it's the for sure thing.
humans also, I don't know.
I'm just thinking of it like from our own simulation things, like The Sims, Sim City, that kind of like Sim City.
Right.
You put Sim City in, you start and it's a tiny small town, and then it just kind of grows over time. Then it just gets really, really to the point where kids will get out of control and probably glitch out or whatever. And so that's why you never know with all the crazy, with all the way, like the things that are happening in the world. Maybe instead of like what someone who's religious would call the apocalypse, what if that's just the fucking game, the simulation running out, and then you can defend deja vu as the fucking shit. It's just something that happens over and over again, where you're just like this unplayable character who's living the life over and over again, or you're just, I mean, like I said, I don't know if that, I'm not saying I actually believe that. It's just kind of more like a thought. Like you have a bubble sometimes, you go, oh, that's kind of interesting. What if that's actually the case? And then you go off and you do something else. But to me, I've thought about it before where it's like, hey, that would kind of make sense. Maybe, just as much sense as there being a God, is that it's a someone running, if you do, like, for example, when they try to do projections for like baseball for the major leagues,
it makes as much sense as a god, and that makes it also a dangerous thought.
It also makes it as much sense as evolution too, because a lot of things with evolution are like so have to fucking hit the exact right moment, and if it didn't, everything would go differently.
What do you mean?
It's such a miracle that we're actually here. You know what I mean? Like, because if you look back,
it could have gone any other way.
Right. But it didn't.
Right.
And so like to actually have the finite amount, like, I don't know the actual numbers. I just remember from hearing and learning about it, my thought was always like, fuck, that's so, even just the idea that that we're actually alive. You know what I mean? That we were one of the
easily,
spermies
if not,
that didn't.
It's probably a better probability that there would have never been life.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But so then that makes you think. Well, then, what's a way to explain it? So then you go, oh, like I was saying about the baseball thing. They'll do a projections thing where they'll run a scenario 100 times and then see what the outcome is and use that as a way to project. Who's going to win this year for baseball based off of statistics. So maybe there's some sort of weird fucking alien people that have an algorithm that they're running, or human people somewhere that have an algorithm that they're running to find the statistics, inputting statistics of what would happen if X, Y, Z had happened, and then that could also explain the multiverse.
That was actually a lot very similar to a Black Mirror episode.
Oh, really?
Where they have these people. It's like an app that rates your profile, like your dating profile, the compatibility to another person on the dating profile. But the way it does that is by simulating you exactly in a universe that's imaginary, and then it basically has you as this imaginary person, but it's really kind of a real person because it's simulated so well, like dating all these other people in the app, and then eventually it finds like people that are matched and says, yeah, you would be a really good match, and these people live like a whole life inside the simulation that's not real. So yeah, we could be that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know, it's not something that's really never really interested me in the same way as like what's beyond our universe.
Ooh.
or what is our universe, or how likely is life even on the other planets, even in our galaxy. It's just something that doesn't really interest me because it's just it's not comfortable.
Yeah.
It's not a comfortable idea.
Yeah.
And it's
you don't like to acknowledge your own insignificance in this massive universe, you being an ant?
Not really. No.
Oh.
And also, it leaves you thinking things that are just not useful at all to your own existence. But
Or maybe it's more useful. Instead, you're just thinking about your job.
I feel like it's good. To get it out. I mean, if you do it all the time, then you just sound crazy.
Yeah, or
But
you
it is
lose
good
your
to
own
get
mind.
it out sometimes.
I know. I wonder, like, am I capable of losing my mind if I just thought about this day in and day out?
Well, I was my boss's son works with me a lot of times, more lately than before, and he's very hard Christian.
Oh.
So then it's like, anytime we're talking about
Hard
anything
Christian.
hard, like
So he's always erect.
he's always a wreck for Christ.
Oh,
He's hard for Christ. There's always
when you ask him
lead-
about it, he
coming
just
for
points
Christ.
up.
Mhm.
He just points up, and then he points to his necklace with the cross on it. And he's like, "This is why I'm hard."
Mhm. Yo, this is why I stay hard all the time. It's for my fucking Lord and Savior. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, but it's like, it's such a weird, because I was thinking about, I'm like, this is nonsense. Like every time he'll start to, he'll talk to me like a normal person, and then he'll start weaving in this whole thing. And I'm like, that's nonsense. You're talking about the rapture now. It
It is a traveling story that makes no points or sense.
Yeah. It's like, we were talking about, men, real men, and how men are supposed to be. And then it came down to, like, the rapture. And then how at some point, God's going to come down and take,
And you
all
gotta
the
be
righteous ones up to
You gotta be a
heavens.
real man if you want to go up.
There's going to be a 7-year, and this is news to me. I didn't know this part. There's a 3.5 years of peace after the rapture.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And then 3.5 years of total hell.
Yeah.
But
7
but
years?
Lucifer is the one that's bringing
Yeah.
the 3.5
Yeah.
Is that the
'cause
seals? The seventh seal?
I wonder if the Bible meant 4 years, and it's just the way that
Well,
the
no,
earth turns around.
think about it. 3.5. The half.
The half is when there's re-election
Yes,
time.
the 6
Yeah.
months that you start
Nobody elects in the
re-election.
last 6 months.
Is that
Wow.
just every?
No,
Are
but
we just stuck in? I always think about it in like a way that like all these ideas we have that are interlocking through different cultures and religions and things. Maybe it's just because they are actually natural patterns that we've just picked up on subconsciously, and like maybe the whole astronomy thing is because in reality, the temperatures and the humidity levels and the types of food that are around during certain parts of the year actually do affect the development of people, and that really, astronomy could have some truth to it.
Well, yeah, like
And
the
maybe-
tides.
And yeah, the tides, and there's a lot of things that really could be affecting us because we're all connected to our natural surroundings.
yeah.
So maybe, yeah, I mean, we know what is it? It's every 4 years we have a leap day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Every
maybe
4 years we get a new president, or re-election.
But the whole thing about the peace thing is that yes, what is supposed to happen with what's supposed to happen with the Antichrist? What's
supposed
supposed to happen with the Antichrist? that they're
There you go.
supposed to
Now I can
come.
understand.
Antichrist is that they're supposed to come and unite everyone, and he's supposed to be a false, like it's supposed to
false prophet.
Yeah, it's supposed to be someone who convinces everyone.
Isn't Jesus supposed to be on Earth at the same time?
No, I'm not sure.
Wait, so who fights after the peace, the 3.5 years of peace? Isn't there just like unending war?
It's 3.5
It's like
years
hell.
of peace, and then 3.5 years of hell, and
War.
then
Isn't there gonna
during
be
that
the four
7-year
horsemen?
period,
The
during
whole-
that 7-year period, you have the
Because the four
ability
horsemen
to be
are-
saved.
are war, pestilence. Was it famine?
The 4 horsemen are
famine?
Ric Flair.
Yeah, Ric
Arnie
Flair,
Anderson,
Arnie Anderson,
Ole
Tully
Anderson.
Blanchard,
Oh,
Ole
my
Anderson.
apologies.
No.
But I thought that the fourth horse was the white horse, which was Jesus, and there's going to be war, famine, and pestilence while Jesus is on earth, including the Antichrist, and it's just going to be like a fucking freak out fest. But I've never read.
Doesn't sound too bad. It sounds like Woodstock '99.
So the Antichrist will come and will unite everyone. Will unite the Middle East, like everything. There'll be peace.
So wait, is the
He'll be dressed like the Pope.
Is the apocalypse and the
rapture
the same deal?
No. The rapture is when
the rapture could happen right now.
And the rapture is when all the people go.
But does the apocalypse happen after?
Yeah.
There's an ascension thing that happens all of a sudden, and then everyone's like, holy shit, this weird thing just happened. Maybe I should take this next 3.5 years to find God. And then
it doesn't matter because they're going to have to suffer anyway.
Yeah, the numbers are really weird on it, too.
That's the thing. It's like when the rapture happens and you get left behind.
Are you internally damned then?
No, that's the thing.
That's your way of
sober up period.
7-year trial.
The thing. Here's the thing where the Christians will always have the upper edge over their followers when it comes to keeping people's faith, is that they can use because a big thing that's going to happen with the one who unites everyone is that there's going to be some sort of universal symbol or something used to identify you. They call it the number of the beast. So a lot of times it's taken literally, like it's going to be a barcode tattoo, or maybe it's a social security number, or maybe it's your debit card number,
or maybe it's a little microchip that they put in the vaccine.
Maybe.
But you know what I'm saying? So then it's like the mark of the beast, and it'll become a thing. Like in their belief is that eventually you're going to be persecuted for not having it. Like if you don't align you're not to align yourself with that person. No matter how charming or cunning they seem, you're not to align yourself with them. And you're going to be pressured by everyone to get the mark of the beast. You'll eventually not be able to have any food if you don't have the mark. If you don't get the mark.
All the things we brought up that might be the mark of the beast I got.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
So the Amish were right.
There you go.
Yeah. Because they don't got any of that shit.
Right.
No, but that's
but they're banished from society.
You just described anti-vaxxers.
Well, it depends on what you think the mark of the beast is.
The Brute and the Fruit has slowly turned into an extremist Christian channel. that was the job the whole time.
Look, guys, I didn't believe in it, but I don't want to be here when the apocalypse happens. Do you?
You want the mark of the beast in your palm? Or do you want to go to heaven and dwell with the Lord?
Heaven. That was good.
Antichrist.
Oh, man. But anyways.
That's one theory.
Yeah. It's an interesting concept.
I like it.
Oh, this mental masturbation thing is fun. We should do it more often.
Oh, God.
Bacon, sausage, roll-ups, and chicken cordon bleu bites, and Cheetos, booze, and propane every day. Oh, won't you come to Leon's today?
Mental masturbation. It's not how I want to think about what I've been doing, but I suppose it's accurate.
We've been masturbating with each other. This is called a circle jerk.
Oh, gross.
Damn it, Burger.
What? Must you be so hollow to think there's only one kind of masturbation? Masturbate with me, my friends. Masturbation of the soul.
Oh, no.
Have you ever seen a soul come? You want to?
I'm trying to not be uncomfortable right now.
Good luck. Watch my soul come.
Watch my soul come, won't you?
Everybody, gather round. Watch my soul come.
I promise.
Come now, everyone. Gather round. Come and watch me come out my soul.
Emphasis on come.
What if as a society, we become so self-conscious, like not in a bad way, but like actually conscious of our reality and ourselves, that we just say that out loud. We're just like, hey, everyone. Come watch me get off on how much attention you're giving me.
Or you just,
It could devolve into that.
Yeah,
I
or
could
just-
see that happening.
I think it'd be sooner that we just evolve into baby noises.
or it's just before the invention of lying. We're just like, how you doing? Oh, good, not bad. How are you? Well, I came this morning, so that was
Everyone
nice.
just lives like Uncle Shine.
I want to eat you.
Yeah, they're just having a conversation
The
about.
funny thing is, I am 100% sure that the person filming him every time is a man.
Oh yeah.
And
For
he's
sure.
so he's just like, it's not like he's just genuinely like thinking that when he's looking at the person and saying it.
Yeah.
Oh
But
no. That's the thing. I feel like
He's
I
just
feel like
performing.
Yeah,
He's
I feel
performing.
like
Yeah,
I feel like
it's
the
theatrical.
guy. It would be if there was Uncle Shine on the corner here in Burgers neighborhood. I feel like we would be going up to the camera and be like, "Yo, Uncle Shine, tell us what you got going on." And be like, "Just let me get that ass, girl. Let me get that ass."
Whereas,
Yeah, imagine-
if your sisters walked up, he probably wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I don't.
Oh yeah. I feel like
I think he'd say some, but he wouldn't be as descriptive.
Well, no, exactly. He would because he's still a gentleman. I feel like
he'd be nice.
He'll
Yeah,
lay the, he'll
he'd
lay the
actually
game
probably
down
make him laugh.
in a gentlemanly kind of way. Be like, he would say something along the lines of like, like, "Oh, girl, got a fat ass" or something.
I would feel like it'd be nicer than that. If you can imagine.
That's nice to him.
That's actually probably would be
Well,
as
to
nice
him,
as
yeah,
he gets.
manners are subjective, I guess.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, I was just, because if anyone goes, "How dare you speak to her like that?" They'd be like, I was just trying to get a pretty girl a compliment.
Yeah.
You got a friend at dawn.